Question of the author.
Do you yield, Senator Middleton?
I do yield. Thank you.
You're recognized, Senator West.
Senator Middleton, my friend Senator Betancourt made a great argument on mom and apple pie and making certain that every Texan should have a right to vote. And we shouldn't take that vote lightly. So in the spirit of Senator Betancourt, don't you think this bill should be applied to every Texas county? Not just Harris County, but every county in the state. So we can make certain that if this good cause exists, that every Texan has a right to appeal to the Secretary of State to make certain that their vote is in fact counted. Do you agree with that?
No one else had any problems?
No. That's not the question I asked. That's not the question I asked, out of all due respect. The question I asked is whether or not you think it should be applicable to all counties to make certain that we don't have this problem. And that if good cause exists in any county, that the Secretary of State should have the power that you're vesting in that office right now. That's the question that I'm asking.
I'd be happy to continue working with you on that. Of course, we still have the judicial remedy that we talked about earlier. So if you had another piece of legislation, or be happy to keep working with you on that.
Well, this is the legislation right here, though.
Yeah.
And it's germane to this legislation. Don't you agree? That if you want to make certain that the Secretary of State, based on what my good friend spent the last 10 minutes talking about, that we empower all voters in the state of Texas who feel as though they have not been able to vote, this is the perfect vehicle to get it done. Let's apply it to every county in the entire state.
And I'm not aware.
We take it up another day. I mean, this is the day we should be taking it up.
So you would support an amendment, or you have an amendment today?
Well, I'm pretty certain that there will be an amendment. I will support that amendment.
So
would you support it?
So at the end, we want to make sure everybody votes, Senator. We want to make sure everybody gets the opportunity to vote. And as the same with the penal code, unfortunately, it's always backward looking. We always are looking backwards when someone deliberately or willfully or intentionally does the wrong thing. And I think that's what happened here. And we just want to make sure that everyone in Harris County gets the opportunity to vote, and ballot paper is not denied. Now, if something happens in this next election where ballot paper we feel like was not offered, or complaint lines, phone calls weren't answered, or it wasn't delivered on time, or it was more than an hour, or polling locations were shut down, or any of that, then yes, we need to look at it again for other counties. I agree with you. But at this time, we need to address a specific issue for Harris County.
So you would not, after all of these speeches on the floor, you would not support an amendment to your bill to make this statewide as opposed to just targeted on Harris County? Yes or no?
Anytime voters are denied an opportunity to vote, I'm going to work with you to make sure we make that right. And
work with me right now. Work with me right now. Again, the question becomes one, given the speeches made by our good friend, Senator Betancourt, because I know he's going to support an amendment if we have an amendment to make it statewide, given the speech that he made. And I think Senator Miles is going to have an amendment, and I'm going to join him in the amendment. I hope Senator Betancourt does the same thing. We're trying to make certain that every Texan's vote is in fact safeguarded. Not just Harris County, but the entire state of Texas. That's what your bill does, sir. And then you're vesting in the Secretary of State, which I hadn't gotten to yet, the power to do that.
I think the amendment, we just identified an issue of the sizing with the percentages where 2% of Loving County is all voting locations.
Well, 2% is 2%. We're trying to make it uniform. You're trying to make it uniform that the Secretary of State has the authority. So it needs to be 2% and applied to the entire state. And by doing it that way, we put every county on notice. On notice. That if these instances occur and there's quote unquote good cause, then the election can be held again. That's what you're trying to do. So it shouldn't just be applicable to Harris County, it should be applicable to any county, not just Harris County, sir. And that's what I'm asking in terms of this amendment that I'm going to be sponsoring with Senator Miles and hopefully Senator Bettencourt and others to make it applicable to all counties in order to make sure we manifest the intent of this particular bill. Don't you agree we should manifest the intent of this particular bill?
I'd be happy to look at it, but that is a concern that's already been identified with the 2%, and especially with these small, very small counties. So
I didn't understand your response. You said you'd be happy to look at it?
I'd be happy to look at it.
Okay, I think Senator Miles is bringing it over there for you to look at it. Would you take a look at it? Because that may be the difference as it relates to whether we get unanimity on this particular bill or it be divided based on partisanship.
Senator West, have you concluded your question period?
No, sir, I haven't.
Okay.
Let's. And it might very well be that we need to have a different percentage for some other counties. And if you pull the bill down for a few moments, let's sit down and figure out whether or not we can do that and come up with an agreement. So pull it down for about 10 minutes. So
if there's unanimity, though, from your caucus and Senator Miles, Senator West, Senator Eckhart, then we could suspend the rules to file a bill to do that, right? I mean, we could work on that. But I think we've identified an issue where, especially the rural counties, are going to have a problem with the 2%. And I have a problem with that.
And I agree with you there. That's why I'm saying if you can pull it down for a few moments, let's kind of talk about the sizing of what that number needs to be to make it not 2%, but something reasonable in light of the circumstances.
And we could do that on a third reading amendment as well. I'm new here, so
That's why I'm asking you to pull it down.
Well, that's different than third reading amendment.
I mean, all due respect and talk to your colleagues. I understand that you're new here, but you've been a part of the legislative process. If we can get bipartisanship on this most important issue, I think that if you can just pull it down for 10 minutes and let's discuss it in terms of the percentages that should be applicable to the size of the county, we may be able to get a bipartisan bill out here that will obviously hopefully pass in the House also. So I'm just asking you for 10 minutes.
We can look at it for a few minutes.